What if I told you Mega Latias and Latios are the worst Mega Evolutions of all time? In today's video, we're going to go over and be ranking every single Mega Evolution in an ordered tier list. And I mean every Mega Evolution. Now let's start off with the worst ones being Latios and Latios. Now for starters, everything about these two are a mere downgrade from their original counterparts. Latios and Latios are probably one of the best designed Pokemon of Generation 3. Hell, Latios is one of my favorite Pokemon, so the fact that you go from this to this is very much jarring. And the thing with these two is that I don't even hate the design. Latios and Latios are based on fighter jets, so the fact that they still design them based off what their inspiration is cool. But why did they have to be the same color? Straight up, if they kept the same colors as the original forms, this design would be a lot better. But they went with this angle. It doesn't help that you can't tell which one is which aside from the fucking eye color. I'm not even done ranting on these motherfuckers yet, because in competitive, Mega Latias and Latios were strictly downgrades compared to their original forms at some point. Their Megas were brought out in Generation 6, but having a Soul Dew on either Lati was just objectively better, and even in Gen 7 where Soul Dew was nerfed, a Mega Latios was weaker than a Latios holding a Life Orb. At least in Latios' case, the Mega had better bulk, which was nice considering Latios is the more defensive oriented of the two. But yeah, I don't know what they're cooking with this, but they definitely burnt the kitchen down. Surprisingly, those were the only two Mega Evolutions in F tier. In E tier, we have Mega Evolutions that are utter garbage and also should have not come to be. First up is Mega Heracross. My god, is he fucking ugly. I've never seen a Pokemon lose so much of its aura when Mega Evolving. Heracross had so much aura, and it was a hidden gem full of mediocrity that is Gen 2. And then, when you turn it into this, that hidden gem just turns into a pile of shit. I can appreciate that it looks more on what it's based off of, being a rhinoceros beetle, which is why it has those two horns, but bro did not need to look that ugly, especially when I see shit like this.
Oh my goodness!
Next is Mega Garchomp, a Pokemon that is objectively worse than its original counterpart in almost every aspect. I know with the stat spread, they didn't want Mega Garchomp being an absolute speed demon with a busted ability, so they had to nerf its speed and give it a filler ability in return. That just makes Mega Chomp obsolete. Garchomp with a Life Orb hits harder, it's faster, and has a better ability in Rough Skin. Also, I just really don't like the design of Mega Garchomp. Why does bro have a fucking chin that's built like that, dog? And for the top of E tier, we have Mega Aerodactyl. Once again, a Pokemon that is extremely ugly, but unlike Mega Heracross, doesn't take away from the original design. But for God's sake, why does bro have a unibrow, and why does he have the crimson shit? I'm just not also a fan of just putting rocks on Aerodactyl and then saying, oh yeah guys, this is Mega Aerodactyl, and just calling it a day. Now we're in D tier. The Pokemon in this tier are hidden gems and a pile of dog shit, which means that they still suck for one reason or another, but they're not too egregious to put them in E tier. Now, I really don't like Mega Venusaur, mainly due to the fact that they were extremely lazy with the design. Just make it fatter and just put a flower on its head. And when you compare this thing to something like Gigantamax Venusaur, they were really holding back on the sauce, dude. It really doesn't help that I hate fighting Mega Venusaur in general, so yeah, I just don't like this thing. Well, I made my why Mega Evolution should not return in Pokemon video. One of the top comments was, bro lost to Mega Audino. And that in ways just makes me not like this thing even more than I already did. Coming from a video that has more dislikes than likes, and the fact that the comments in that video make me want to put salt on my eyes while staring at the sun. But my main reason for not liking Mega Audino was the fact that this was the only Generation 5 Pokemon to get a Mega. I can probably expect more Gen 5 Megas with Legends ZA, so yeah, expect me to start appreciating Mega Audino more in the future. All they did to Ampharos was give it hair, give it the dragon typing, and just call it a day. Someone pointed this out to me, but the hair is supposed to be fur as a nod to its pre-evolutions, which is cool, I guess, but the fact that they made a sheep, a dragon, in a gen where they introduced fairy types, and I think this was just a start of a trend where they just throw the dragon typing on anything nowadays and calling it a day. I'm not too fond of Swampert in general, and I do not care for Mega Swampert at all, and I just really don't like how bulky the design is. I do think giving it Swift Swim is kind of cool though. Next is Mega Sharpedo, and this Pokemon is just fucking ugly, especially since normal Sharpedo doesn't even look that bad. I know they were trying to be faithful to the torpedo aspect of the design, but if they straight up made Mega Sharpedo have the torpedo head and the rest of a normal shark body, it would look a lot better in my opinion. Mega Abomasnow is way too ugly and bulky for my liking, but I generally don't know what they were gonna do with this design, considering Abomasnow is already a chunky boy, so it just seems like they're setting themselves up for disappointment, unfortunately. And I really don't like Mega Salamence. I think giving it the croissant wing was an L design wise, and I just don't like how it is in game. It just seems like this dude just doesn't have any legs. Even in the official art, it just seems like dude lost his arms. I do think when Salamence is on the ground, it looks a lot better, but I'm still not high on it. Also, Roaring Moon, in my opinion, is a better take on Mega Salamence despite it being a lot weaker, which does make Mega Salamence even more of a downgrade for me. I am also not a fan of Mega Blaziken. It's one of those Megas where there's not really a point to using it since it's outclassed by the original form. I think the fire ships on his wrist are cool, but what really throws me off is the fact that he has a random horn on his head and the fact that he loses his luscious locks. What makes me really like Blaziken is the simplicity of the design as well as the beautiful hair, and I just think Mega Blaziken is doing too much to the point where I don't like it. Plus, bro loses his locks still. And to round up, our D tier is Mega Tyranitar. This thing did not need to exist. If anything, this guy feels like a side grade to Tyranitar. In a competitive battle, you have options to choose some cool and strong Mega Pokemon, but you wound up using Tyranitar out of all Pokemon, which functions the same as its base form. I can appreciate how the design of Mega Tyranitar is a callback to Larvitar, but as we saw with Ampharos, it ain't really doing much for it. Also, I really just don't understand why they give Mega Evolutions to Pokemon that don't need it. It's just unnecessary fan service. You either get a Mega Pokemon that's just a downgrade to the original form, or a Mega Pokemon that's just way too fucking broken, and then there's Mega Tyranitar that just feels pointless. Now we finally reach C tier, where the Pokemon are just painfully mid, but there's nothing too egregious with them to make them just straight up bad. Starting with Mega Mewtwo. You know what this Pokemon reminds me of? Jiren from Dragon Ball. And I just don't know how I should feel about that. But this design is okay, but I'm not really a big fan of the changing the game aspect of Mewtwo, if that makes sense. What I mean is that Mewtwo was always meant to be a special attacker, and that's why Mega Mewtwo is stuck with the likes of Drain Punch and Zen Headbutt as its strongest stat moves. Once again, another Mega Evolution that shouldn't exist since Mewtwo Y seems like the quote-unquote canon Mega Evolution to Mewtwo. Shout out to Shadow Mewtwo though, that guy is cool as fuck. Mega Pidgeot just looks like Pidgeot with slightly more hair to it. I don't know what else to say. No Guard Hurricane is kinda OP though. The design of Mega Manectric feels off to me in a way. I do like how the mane resembles a lightning bolt and how it gets Intimidate, but other than that, I don't really have much to say about it. Mega Scizor has cool aspects of its design, and I like how despite it keeping Technician, it actually doesn't make it pointless, and in all ways it's just an upgrade to what Scizor is best at doing. I just really don't like how Mega Scizor has motherfucking staplers for hands. Mega Glalie canonically having its jaw break while Mega Evolving was definitely a design of all time, but I do think that this design is fine for what it's worth. I think it should have gained the rock typing while Mega Evolving, and I'm not really too much of a fan of how they give one evolution branch a Mega Evolution and not the other, since this practically makes Frostlass obsolete, but I guess they needed a way to buff Glalie considering Frostlass outclasses it in every way possible. Mega Aggron's design is too bulky for me, but the design isn't bad compared to something like Mega Abomasnow. I also think that the fact that Aggron becomes pure steel when Mega Evolving adds to this design. I understand why they put an M on Cameron's forehead, but that design choice is just silly in my eyes. I do like how the two smaller volcanoes turn into one bigger volcano when it Mega Evolves, as well as it seeming a lot more enthusiastic. Bro went from not giving a shit to giving all the shits in the world. You cannot imagine my disappointment when I found out this Pokemon was Mega Mewtwo Y and not Mew 3. Design-wise, Mewtwo Y is a lot more better than Mewtwo X, and I like how it expands on Mewtwo's lore and design, being more resembling of Mew than ever while also being its own entity at the same time, which is cool. I just wish they could have given it a better ability other than a nerve. I just think Inner Focus, fits well for a Pokemon like this and Mewtwo X without it being inherently broken. And to round up our C tier, I'm gonna throw a curveball. It's Mega Jinx. Now, it was revealed by the Terra leak that Jinx was supposed to get a Mega Evolution, but that was scrapped unfortunately. And that makes me really sad. The thing with Jinx is because of the controversy that looms above it all the time, it's kind of been shafted and shadow banned by Game Freak. There's a reason why Jinx didn't get an evolution along with Electabuzz and Magmar despite those group of Pokemon being a trio. And you can just tell Jinx is being still shafted due to the form being scrapped in the year 2013. As for the actual design, it's fucking ugly, let's be honest. But that's probably what they're going for, which is ironically doesn't make it worse for me. It actually makes it kind of better. But I am on my knees and praying we see Mega Jinx in Legend ZA. We can only hope. Now, before we get to the rest of the tier list, this video is actually sponsored by me, as I request you guys to please subscribe to my channel. I have a goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers before 2025 ends, and if we can make that a reality, I'd really appreciate it a ton. Now, back to the video. B tier. We finally reached the good Mega Evolutions, but they're not necessarily great, and because of how many Pokemon are in this specific tier, I'll try to make this one brief. Sableye is an interesting Pokemon to say the least. It comes across as a goofy little guy, and the Mega Evolution multiplies that persona. But I feel like at this point, this is less of a Pokemon and more of an enemy from the Legend of Zelda. I like how Mega Medicham takes the aspects of Meditite in the original Medicham, and the design is especially clean too. A Mega Evolution done right. I don't care what anyone says, this design is fucking fire and hilarious. Unfortunately, this does just make Slowking Mega obsolete, and it's not like Slowking was strictly better than Slowbro either. I'm just hoping for a Mega Slowking in PLZA. Mega Gardevoir is iconic, and I like how the dress becomes black when it's shiny. A cool Mega on their end. With the introduction to Mega Gallade and Oras, they did the line justice by giving both branch evolutions of the Ralts line Mega Evolutions, and that's why I like Mega Gallade so much. I also really like how they gave Wally Gallade and Oras instead of Gardevoir. One last thing I should mention is how Mega Gallade looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh duelist, which I think is pretty funny. I think there is no bad thing wrong with Mega Altaria. I just think making it a Dragon Fairy typing while making the clouds prismatic was a cool design aspect of it. I can't really rate it higher than B tier, since Altaria has always been kind of an underwhelming Pokemon for me at least. Mega Houndoom looks obviously edgy, but it works because it's a Hellhound. Duh. I will say there are some aspects of the design I like on the original Houndoom more than Mega Houndoom, and if Mega Houndoom took those aspects of normal Houndoom, it would be higher than B tier. Mega Absol looks obviously edgy, except it doesn't work. There's not really a purpose to give it wings, but I will say the general design of it, art-wise and competitive-wise, is a lot better than Absol. I just don't see a purpose of giving it wings if it's not a flying type, which I don't think they could make it flying even if they wanted to. I can appreciate Mega Blastoise for what it is, and I've come to like it more over the years. I do think the single cannon over the two cannons is fire as fuck though. Mega Alakazam looks like a sidekick guru, which I can fuck with. Also, the fact that it carries 5 spoons, which is a sight to behold. I personally think Mega Mawile is one of the best Mega Evolutions, purely based off of design alone. And I like how they made Mawile actually usable. But why in God's name did they give Mega Mawile huge power out of all abilities with this stat distribution? Mega Gyarados was my most used Mega Evolution while growing up, so I have a personal connection to it. I, however, think regular Gyarados has a better design though. It's still good though, don't get me wrong. I think Diancie being the only Gen 6 Pokemon that can Mega Evolve isn't as egregious as Audino being the only Gen 5 Pokemon that can Mega Evolve. It has a really cool and clean design, and I liked how it looked during the Diancie movie. Mega Lopunny was a Mega Evolution done right. It took a Pokemon that sucked dog shit, and they actually made it good without it being super busted like Mega Mawile. This is what Mega Evolution should be about. Taking bad Pokemon and making them good without pushing broken territory. Unfortunately, this Pokemon is still Massive Furry Bait though. Ah well. One reason why I like this Mega so much is because of the child fights with the mother, which I think is super wholesome. And funny at the same time when you realize how comically broken this Pokemon is. And to round out B tier, I'm throwing another curveball at you. We have Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. These are practically Mega Evolutions, and I know someone would nerd emoji if I didn't include them here. They're good Pokemon, and that's all I have to really say since I don't really have a preferred one between the two. Finally, we've reached A tier. These are Mega Evolutions that are obviously great, but I can't convince myself to put any of them in S tier. Starting off with A tier, we have Mega Pinsir. Once again, another Mega Evolution done right. I'm pretty sure Pinsir was forgettable to most of the Pokemon community, so giving it a Mega Evolution did it justice in my personal opinion. And what do I even say about Mega Charizard X? Definitely the most iconic Mega Evolution of all time. Charizard became a fucking dragon type finally, and its design is fucking fire. Pun intended. But believe it or not, I actually like Zard Y more. I think a reason to this is that I played Pokemon Y as a kid, so I was stuck with Zard Y, and it ended up being the strongest Pokemon on my playthrough team. So there is obviously a sentimental value to this, but I also think Zard Y is a better designed Pokemon competitive wise. I'm not too big on special attackers becoming, physical attackers and vice versa, but that also shows here. I wasn't really too much of a fan on Zard X becoming a physical attacker, but what else are you gonna do with like a special Zard X? It's not like it gets Draco Meteor. And also, Zard Y was the first Mega Evolution Pokemon I've used in competitive, so there's that. Don't get me wrong, both of them are extremely cool still. I absolutely love how the spikes on normal Steelix turn into crystals on Mega Steelix, and how it quite literally has its own gravitational pull. Also, Mega Steelix reminds me of the Crystal Onyx from the anime, so that boosts it even more, I guess. And here's one last curveball for the video. I promise, it's the last one. That's Ash Greninja. Like with Primal Groudon and Kyogre, this isn't a Mega Evolution, but it practically is one, and I have a theory. I feel like they're gonna make the Ash Greninja form a Mega Evolution for Legends ZA. Why else would they change the Battle Bond mechanic and take out the form? But yeah, we all know how much of an aura farmer Ash Greninja is, so let's just move on. Mega Lucario is fucking fire, and I don't care what anyone says. I definitely think this Pokemon shouldn't have had adaptability as an ability, but it's still really cool. It improves upon Lucario in every aspect. Also, shout out to Ash Ketchum having one in the anime, and like Greninja, it's also an aura farmer. Mega Gengar has one of the best designs of all of Mega Pokemon. It straight up looks like a demon. It's so sinister, very powerful, has Shadow Tag as a fucking ability. I haven't been bringing up the shiny forms for most of these guys, but shiny Mega Gengar is arguably one of the best shiny Megas of all time. The fact that it's white on a ghost and they improve upon shiny Gengar sucked so much, and he just like, beautiful, absolute cinema. It was so clean once, they had to do it twice with Gigantamax Gengar. Mega Gengar would be in S tier, but unfortunately, bro skipped leg day. I can't really describe why Mega Sceptile is this high other than my personal bias for normal Sceptile. I mean, Sceptile already was an Aura Farmer, and Mega Sceptile just multiplies on that in the anime. Also, the fact that he's turning his back on you while in battle is cool yet funny. Like, bro, we see the fit. Also, my personal thing about Mega Sceptile, my personal favorite thing that is how the tail, right? The tail, it reminds me of a Christmas tree. And I like it when a Pokemon reminds me of Christmas as long as they don't make it painfully obvious. And finally, to round out the A tier, at the top we have Mega Bayonet. This Pokemon just does a lot of things right. For starters, W design, and I like how the zippers are all around its body, implying that yes, this was a possessed doll at some point. Also, the fact that the purple goes well with the black too, and just, oh my goodness. Another thing that I really like about it is that it was a Pokemon that desperately needed a buff, and Mega Evolution gave it that. I also really like Bayonet as a Pokemon, and unfortunately it's really forgettable, and it just doesn't it justice. What else do I have to say? Mega Bayonet peaks in RU, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's certainly better than normal Bayonet, which suffers in ZU. But yeah, I love this guy. Finally, we have S tier, and these Pokemon are the best of the best when it comes to Mega Evolution for me. For the bronze medal, we have Mega Rayquaza. So when you think of 3 Pokemon that personify Mega Evolution, you think of Zardex, Lucario, and then Mega Rayquaza. Obviously, this is an NPC choice to have in S tier, but I have my reasonings. For starters, I actually have a lot of sentimental value with Mega Rayquaza. It was one of the first Pokemon I've used when I first played Ubers and cheesing kids on the ladder with Extreme Evo Boost into the Baton Pass, which was a sight to behold. I also won a team tournament on Smogon, and our team name was actually called the Metro Boomin Mega Rays. So I think that's where most of the sentimental attachment comes from this Pokemon, because of, those cool moments I had when I was younger. And also, this Pokemon is just cool as fuck too. For the silver medal, we have Mega Metagross. Again, another NPC pick, but again, some sentimental value. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are one of my most replayed vanilla Pokemon games, and Steven Mega evolving his Metagross is certainly a sight to behold. Unlike every other pseudo Mega, it actually substantially improves upon Metagross' design, even though I like normal Metagross even more. This Pokemon is just also really fun to use, and the fact that we've had the opportunity to use a shiny Mega Metagross when Oras was first released was definitely a top 10 moment as a kid. Also, this Pokemon is broken, but in a really fun way. And now, we get to the top of the pyramid. From Pokemon that are way too iconic, to Pokemon that are once scrapped, to Pokemon that aren't even fucking Mega Evolutions. What could possibly be at the top? Ladies and gentlemen, the gold medal of the tier list. That goes to Mega Beedrill. Now, this Pokemon is a culmination of the good aspects of Mega Evolution. As you may know, I'm not too much of a fan on Mega Evolution due to the fact that they gave Mega Evolutions to all the wrong Pokemon. From Pokemon that just didn't need one, to super popular Pokemon, to Pokemon that became worse when Mega evolved, Mega Latios and Mega Latias, and Pokemon that became absurdly overpowered. And surprisingly, Beedrill does none of that. There's a reason why I like Mega Bayonet, Mega Pinsir, and Mega Lopunny. They give bad Pokemon a buff that really needed it, and emphasize on the word bad on these guys. But why does Beedrill stand at the top? Well, out of all Pokemon that could have done it to, Game Freak chose the Route 1 bug type, one that's notoriously atrocious in every way possible, and the fact that they somehow actually made it viable is poetic in a way. And I adore the fact that Beedrill gets the Mega while Butterfree gets the Gigantamax form. It just really makes it full circle. And why I'm not upset that Mega Butterfree just doesn't exist. Also, the design is peak. I know it seems like they're doing too much with it, but on a Pokemon like Beedrill, it works here. The fact that it goes from an aggressive bee to a fearsome wasp is absolute cinema once again. Also, I just think Beedrill has an underrated shiny, so even more bonus points goes to it. Every good part of Mega Evolution is embodied in Beedrill, and that's why Mega Beedrill stands at the top, and it deserves the title of best Mega Evolution Pokemon of all time. And here is the full tier list, ladies and gentlemen. I might revisit this topic again once Pokemon Legends ZA comes out and we get new Mega Evolutions, but we'll see. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you enjoyed this video, check out the one where I talk about how Gen 5 Pokemon fans are the new Gen 1ers. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.